Evening, everybody. My name is Jason Grady. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Inland and Wetlands Commission of Monroe. It is July the 24th, 2019. It is currently 7:02. The first order of business, as always, is our Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So I will introduce the members of the commission present here tonight, starting all the way on my right, Commissioner Keith Romano. Next, Commissioner Clark Gingras. Next to him is Commissioner Ross Mastroraco. To my immediate right is Commissioner Jim Stewart, who is our treasurer. He's a licensed professional engineer and a licensed land surveyor. To my left is our vice chairman, Jeff Shamus, who is a certified ecologist, certified soil scientist, and a professional wetland scientist. To his left is Commissioner Lois Spence, who is our secretary. Next is Donna Szynski, who is the office manager. Next to her is Denise
Halstead.
Halstead. I always forget. I'm sorry. And next to her is Scott Schatzline, who is the town engineer. And with us is Sarah Stroud, our recording secretary. Before we move on to our next important matter of business, I will read our mission statement. The objective and purpose of our Inland Wetlands Commission is to provide for the overall protection and preservation of the inland wetlands and watercourses within the town of Monroe. In the normal course of our meetings, we will hear public hearings and other applications. The protocol for public hearings is to have an applicant make a representation or presentation to the commission, during which and after which the commission will be asking the applicant questions. The commission will then review town, staff, and other independent comments. The meeting will be then opened up for public comment. I will ask that all comments be made to the chair or the commission. After any and all comments pro, in opposition, or of a general nature are made, excuse me, the applicant will be given the opportunity to respond. It is not necessary that the applicant respond, but generally in their best interest to do so. There will be no further opportunity for new questions unless new material is entered in as evidence or testimony during their response. Please keep any and all comment, pro and con, specific to inland wetlands related matters. Other applications that do not involve a public hearing will follow a similar format, with the exception that there will be no public comments allowed. The meeting follows our published agenda unless otherwise amended. The agenda is up here on the front table, should lay like a copy. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight?
Yes. There's just, let's see. Okay. So, under item, sorry, jeepers. Item number 9, I'm adding 2 time extensions. The first one is IWV 2018-15, and it's for Main Street, and it's an extension request. And IWV 2017-07R, which is 127 Main Street, and that's a 30-day extension request. And then what was the other one? I'm sorry. And then under item 10, under B, permitted uses as of right, IPU 2019-11, 518 Monroe Turnpike for tree trimming. And that's it.
Thank you. Okay, so before we move on our agenda, we have an administrative matter to deal with. Do you want to introduce, or do you want me to?
Yeah, let me explain to the commission that some of you may be aware that as part of the recent budgetary process, the town made some changes to restructure some of the personnel. And as a result, there is going to be some impact to the commission. To be specific, I have been reassigned to focus my attention and duties to being the town engineer and focusing on engineering projects. So because of that, Denise was made full-time, and so she'll be available to be your specific staff for the Inland Wetlands Commission. I'm still going to be the town engineer. I'm still going to oversee or be checking or looking at your applications relative to engineering issues. But all of the other issues will be handled by Denise through the office, Inland Wetlands office. So with that, I think that the expectation is that you would appoint Denise as your inland wetlands agent. And I think you would need to do that now if you want her to handle things for the rest of the meeting.
Denise, could you state your full name for the record, please?
Denise Halstead,
Can you spell your last name, please?
Halstead.
And your professional certifications?
Actually, I'm a professional engineer.
Okay. So, on behalf of the commission, we'd like to thank Scott for his contributions thus far. I'm working on a little bit more of a formal recognition, but I wasn't aware that Scott was going to be here tonight, so we will continue that matter for another time. But going forward, I will entertain a motion to appoint Denise Halstead, right? It's going to take me 2 years to say that correctly. As our inland wetland agent, stepping up to fill the very capable shoes of Scott Schatzline, who is our town engineer. Do I hear a motion in that regard, please?
Make the motion, Seth.
Okay, so I have a motion by Commissioner Stewart to appoint Denise as our inland wetland agent. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Romano. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, so motion passed unanimously. Is hereby appointed Denise Halstead as our inland wetland agent for the town of Monroe beginning now. Thank you very much. Again, thank you, Scott, for everything. And again, we're furiously working on a better way to thank you.
And if engineering is, I don't intend to be present at the rest of your meetings on any kind of regular basis, but as I said, I am the town engineer. If there are technical issues that come up that you feel you need some help with, I'm certainly available. I can provide comments to you. If I don't recognize that myself and provide them automatically, but you can just request that and I'll help out in any way I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Scott.
you very much, Scott.
Thanks.
All right, so with that business, we'll move on to this part of our agenda, which covers general public participation. This is a period of time reserved for public participation on matters involving inland wetlands in the town of Monroe, but not anything specifically on this agenda tonight. Would anybody like to make a comment of a general nature? Seeing none. Oh, I kind of went out of order there. I'm sorry, it was on the agenda. Oh,
Sorry.
well. No, I'm sorry. I didn't pay attention. There are no subdivision report recommendations to P&Z Commission, so moving on to regulated activities. Our first is regular meeting with no public input, IWC 2019-08R, 4 Maple Drive, O'Keefe, removing of millings, remediation, and construction of an asphalt driveway. This is for reinstatement of a previous approval.
Bill Carboni, Spath, Yorkland Associates,
Good evening, sir.
for the engineers for Mr. O'Keefe. This project was, again, to remove millings that were on the site to construct an asphalt driveway. And this was approved originally on June 27th, 2018. We went to do this, we were informed that we had to have a planning and zoning permit, so we could not make the that original deadline of completing all the work by November 18th. However, we did not request an extension in a timely manner. The Planning and Zoning Commission has approved this. We are working on meeting their conditions of approval. What we're here for tonight is to ask for the clause in the approval to be changed from November 2018 to October 31st of this year. That's the only change. The plans that we have submitted are identical to the ones that you have approved. Scott and I worked this out before that we are not changing anything except for that date. So we're just asking for that date to be approved and for us to have the work completed by October 31st.
October 31st, you said?
October 31st.
This. That's this one.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Mr. Carboni, what items, I guess, if you could just elaborate what has been done and
Nothing has been done.
nothing's been done?
Because in order for us to do any work, including plantings, we have to have a P&Z approval, a special exception permit.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said that you did get the approval.
They approved it, however, there were conditions of approval for that. We were in the process of making those, and Will Agresta's comment was, well, you can't do anything until we satisfy the inland wetlands conditions, which is why we're here to change the date. The work is done, it's just there's a technicality, they can't approve it until you give us the date. And as soon as they do that, we will process this with the planning and zoning for what they call a review of approval, a set of plans that meet their conditions.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. So you have to resubmit to P and Z
No.
also?
No,
You have your P and Z approval, and that's all you need besides this redating,
no.
basically?
When you make an approval and you add conditions to it,
Right,
we prepare another set of plans. We call them ROA, Review of Approval. We submit that to Scott or in the future Denise, and they say, all right, these set of plans now meet all the conditions of approval in your approval. For planning and zoning, that has been done, but we have not got approval of the revised plans because this date in wetlands is hanging it up. So as soon as you give us the date for this, we will submit the plans to planning and zoning, and you will receive the ROA, review of approval. That's just the way the process is done.
It's taken a year to get through that process? The original approval date was by 7/27/18, correct?
Planning and zoning approved it on December 20th of 18, which was a month after the condition of this commission.
when was it submitted to P and Z?
September.
September. Oh, sure, here.
We submitted to P and Z on September 24th, 2018.
So how come it was delayed until December before it was approved? Was it P and Z delays,
they
or was
approved
it requests on the applicant's part?
They approved it on December 20th.
Right, that means it was in-house for 3 months. Why so long? Was it something that P and Z was held up, or was it requests on your part to delay?
No, that's just how
Further.
long the process takes. If we submitted it, there's 15 days for, before that, and then it was a public hearing, so there was no particular days, this, just about how long it takes.
Wait, are my records incorrect where it says the initial remediation was not met and the condition of approval was not addressed within the allotted 30 days of July 27, 2018?
That's correct.
The initial remediation conditions.
Was not done because we were told we had to get a P and Z special exception permit to do the work. So there was no way we could have made the date. The problem is that we didn't ask for an extension at that time,
So the deadline was a year ago in July,
July 27th.
and then you applied for that zoning permit in September. And now we here are in the next July and still nothing has been done. When this originated, that dates back to, what, 2012, 2013?
No. It was in the spring of 18. I don't have the date of the submittal.
I could provide some clarification.
Please, sir.
In that, what happened was they got their approval at Wetlands, and we thought they were working on the ROA, so we were asking, where's the ROA, where's the, where, two things, where's the ROA for inland wetlands? And when we got around to realizing that they didn't know that they had to go to inland wetland, to planning and zoning, we explained to them that, you need to get this in to go to to planning and zoning. That took some time before they submitted to planning and zoning, so that's why they got behind, because the application to planning and zoning was not made immediately after the application to inland wetlands. We did send out reminders, we made it aware to them that they had to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the application didn't come in until later. Sometimes, there's a little bit of confusion because sometimes when you guys talk about remediation, minimal grading and planting, then they don't have to go to, if it's all in the interest of getting some remediation done and it's just plantings, then there may not be a need to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission. But if there is any proposed development, if you remember, this was an approval for remediation and for development. The development in this case was the construction or the installation of a driveway servicing out to Victoria Drive. So because it had development attached to the approval, that's the reason why they had to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission. But they did not make the application in a timely manner. I think it was in fairness, some fairness to them, it was due to some confusion.
All right, so the process now is, they're asking us with a new application for a new date, and then if we approve, they can start work?
So, yeah, what I told them was that since their inland wetlands application has lapsed, they neglected to come in and ask for an extension. So formally, it lapsed. I suggested that they just resubmit and reinstate the exact same application and ask the commission for, as a practical matter at this point, ask the commission for an extension on, and to reset the time deadline that you have for getting that phase one done. Since it's the middle of summer right now, and it's not like they could really do that work anyway until the fall.
We
But-
can't do the plantings, we can do the driveway.
Yeah, I guess you're right, yeah, you can do the.
But P and Z approval is now in place, so there's nothing to hold back the work starting as soon
Well,
as
the only
this
thing that'll
happens.
hold it back is once you approve it, then they have to finish the ROA process, whatever that entails, which I don't think is very much at
No, it's
all,
not.
it's nothing. And then, yeah, we can get the pre-construction
Okay.
going and they can get going on it.
And so there's phase one and phase two, possibly phase three. So phase two has a deadline of November 2021.
Yes,
And is that still valid for,
yes.
even though this one needs to be extended, that one?
Right, the first phase was the remediation of the wetlands violations, the construction of the driveway and removal of the millings that were put out there. Phase two is for a development plan for that portion of the site, for a new building and all that kind of stuff. So, if he's going to proceed, that date would still be in force. If that is not the plan to build the building by that date, there is to be another plan for the permanent or semi-permanent restoration of the rest of the site with more landscaping than we are proposing with this current plan. So it's just like if he does the whole thing, we're all set. If not, we have to put in more plants. But there's no sense in putting those plants in to take them back out.
And so that phase two plan for development would come in during this time period between 2019 and 2021?
Correct.
Okay.
Unless the development plan comes in and then you won't need it. In clarification, phase two of remediation, would be to plant the rest of the backyard.
Correct.
And then the expectation, I think the goal in everybody's mind is that they won't need to do that because in that period of time, hopefully they'll come in with a development plan to develop the property further, put a building up, do different planting, and it'll supersede any need for a further remediation plan.
One way or another, that's got to be done by 2021.
Mm.
Anything else from the commission? Any other questions?
I think so.
I'll make a motion to.
We'll deliberate.
That's deliberation.
We'll deliberate after.
Oh.
Appreciate
Did we
that.
formally open this?
It's not a public hearing.
It isn't.
It's a regular meeting.
It's a
Oh,
regular
okay.
meeting.
Doesn't even have to be open for a regular meeting?
Anything else, Mr.
I
Carbone?
didn't.
No, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Moving on to a public hearing, IWC 2019-07R, 781 Main Street, Town Line Auto Body Shop, site development and remediation of wetland violation. This is the opening of the public hearing.
Did you put, yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, I just shut it.
Hey folks, my name is Raymond Rizzi. I'm back here before you represent the Giamatti's, who are the owners of Town Line Auto Body Shop at 781 Main Street. I mentioned technology in my presentation. As you know, we were here with the Giamatti's. One needed to replace a septic system, and in doing that, they went through the process and realized that over the years, they might have developed some facilities that might have been stored in the upland area. And we're in the process of basically going for zone change to take this from residential, coming to wetlands to clean up any of the storage that happens to be in the upland review area, and provide the commission with some make them feel secure that there won't have any wetlands violations in the future. So, these violations or unpermitted activities were discovered, as I said, when we get to replace the septic system. A couple of things that we've done is we removed some structures over on here, Chris, if you can, let me move this up, down to the south side. There were some structures down on the south side that on property that was owned adjacent to so the people to the south is Snetco, and there were some structures that were on and over the property line that we have removed. There was a dumpster at the very south end, as you can see, south of the carports, that has been removed. We have totally cleaned up the rear of the property. As you can see, it's now very well kept, and what we intend on doing is fencing in the carports that we use for rear storage. We can go back to the site plan. And adding wetland-type plants in a buffer area. Staff also recommended that we add along the wetland boundaries a split rail fence to prevent any future encroachment into the wetland area. So our client immediately in response has done the corrective action that they think. They've come up with a formula that we believe will protect the wetlands in the future, and back before you with approvals, and then we'll go to planning and zoning to hopefully get these. Once we change it to the property from residential to commercial, we're allowed to have these outdoor storage containers as long as they're fenced in. They will be fenced in. So in effect, it will be, for the first time in 40 years, our clients have owned this since 1975. There'll be split rail fence protecting all the wetland areas. There'll be 6-foot-high stockade fence around the storage containers, and we will replace the septic system, which is shot to the very south of the property, and have it all on the property. This property used to be serviced by a well that, believe it or not, was not even on our property. It was to the south on an adjacent piece of property. That's basically our presentation. This has all been in conjunction with staff. It's evolved over a few month period. Your patience has allowed us to develop this plan. And with your consent and approval, we'll be able to hopefully move forward to planning and zoning, get the zoning squared away, and then we'll take this very successful body that has been there in this family, now going to a second generation for the last 40 years, and bring everything into conformity. I'd be happy to answer any questions. We're not looking to fill anything. We're not looking to do any other activities. In the upland area, we're going to add wetland-type vegetation and buffers to protect the wetlands in the future and establish a clear guideline. It's kind of what the charge you gave us to do, and I hope we satisfied what you were looking for us to do.
You included the markers, the wetland markers on the fencing?
We will add that, that's no problem. We'll do that as a condition.
On both the split rail and the
Sure.
stockade?
No problem.
So just to clarify, you did say you were going to extend the stockade fence around the dumpster. Okay.
Basically, nobody, you'll now have you'll have not only the stockade, so you don't have to worry about any debris coming from the storage area, but now you'll have the stockade fence for nobody to kind of meander into the wetland area in the future. And this property is pretty well buffered. It's not like we find people walking across our property. From the south, there's a stream south of us, not on our property. The only neighbor we have is Snetco to the south, and the only thing they have on their property is an underground station. So this is one of the more well-buffered properties in town. Once we go to planning and zoning, it's outside the upland area. What we'll be doing is coming up with a planting plan along Main Street, which will soften the fencing where we keep our cars behind, but it'll help clean up the whole area and bring everything into conformance.
This may be someplace on the plan, but I was not able to find it. What is the significance of the brackets of A? Over the
Where?
septic tank. I think it's a septic tank.
Cross sections,
The cross-section of.
which is on the next page.
Okay.
If
It's
you go to
this?
Yeah, section A.
So
Okay.
it's just a
Never mind, I retract the
detail.
question. I retract that, okay.
should say an A prime, but it just says two A's to give you an
Oh,
indication
okay,
of which way it
okay.
starts and which way it ends.
See, I need an educational component here. Due to the pitch of the property, shouldn't the hay bales be the ones that are closest to the road, on the north end of the site? Shouldn't they be extended further since you're doing more work in the proposed septic system? That doesn't look like it's going to contain.
We have no problem. I mean, if,
I don't know where they
we
should
can,
be
we can give
extended
you as many hay bales
to.
as you like. But, no, I mean,
Do you
I
see
think
what
the
I'm talking
idea
about? Am I
is,
crazy?
first of all, everything flows away from the wetlands. What's that? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. There's hay bales along the pavement, and then silt fence not on the pavement.
Wait a minute, where's the silt fence?
The silt fence is, hold on a second. The silt fence is, as you can see.
Yeah, use
ties,
the
this is
mouse.
correct there. That's all silt fence. See, it's labeled up top.
Oh, I see it. It
So
goes,
that'll all be silt
There
fence.
it is.
goes over the,
Okay. Okay, the silt fence and extra, nothing, should we ask for more hay bales?
So what'll happen is that silt fence will then tie into the hay bales. And we have the hay bales versus the silt fence where there's the pavement.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about something going under the silt fence.
The abandoned septic tank, what is the top surface of that going to be? Is that paved, is it gravel, is it sand?
I'm assuming it's gonna be paved. What's that?
Could
The
you-
record, Doug-
could
the-
you-
The record, Doug DeVesta, represent the
Thank you.
applicant. The existing septic tank right now is partly under that trail that's in the back, so that area is kind of a grassy, lawny area back there, so it's just gonna be filled with sand, and then to be pumped out,
Okay,
filled it with sand, and left
and then
in
left
left in
alone,
place,
so it will be just lawn,
with lawn back.
okay, thank you.
as far as sequencing of construction for the septic system, excavation and stockpile staging, laydown areas, will it be on pavement? Will it be on plastic? And will those be, have a ring of hay bales around it?
I guess
You have it there, it's easy.
So what we'll end up doing is, we've got to excavate out the material that's coming out of the septic area to bring in select fill.
Mhm.
So we'll take that material out, stockpile it to the north of it, outside the upland review area. If we have to, we'll put some hay bales around. We also have silt fence there already, so probably stockpile right in here, and then put the septic system, the fields in, and then use that material to backfill it and cover it back up again.
And where is your closest catch basin, if there's any?
And there's none on our property, there's none on our site, and the closest catch basin was, I think, right over here where the twin 36-inch pipes are, on Route 25.
Okay, so in that area of the property, if a drop of rain hits, which way is it flowing?
Whereabouts?
Yeah, septic system,
The septic-
new septic
Septic
system.
system? Heading in,
Which way is it gonna flow?
so it's gonna head in a westerly direction.
Okay. And your proposed dumpster is a relocation of the existing dumpster?
That's correct. Right now, it was down here, but that's already been moved.
Yeah,
So that was one of the things that we moved already, so the dumpster's gonna go up here, which is outside the 100-foot upland review area.
and the existing carports and storage containers are staying there?
Yes, they'll just be fenced in.
But they're staying there, right?
Yes.
I guess okay, so the only thing I would critique as a note to the commission when reviewing this is a better, and maybe I'm missing it, but a better indication of using different line types, because the dumpster looks like it's gonna still be there, and the carports are all the same line type, and so.
I got you.
You know what I mean?
We'll agree to,
All it has to say is
basically,
relocate
identify as
dumpster.
dumpster to be removed,
Yeah, so,
okay?
yeah.
That should have been identified. What happened is when we did the plan, we moved the dumpster prior to the meeting versus waiting for the meeting and then putting the dumpster. So we'll modify the plan to show the proposed dumpster is where actually a dumpster is, and that dumpster either will be removed from the plan or shown to be removed. The dumpster on the south side.
So the work that has to be done on the adjacent property, is that concrete removal? The work that needs to be done on the adjacent property, is there concrete removal involved in that?
No, what we intended on doing was just continuing the split rail fence on the other side, because our turning radius is to get into, that area has been in place since before SNET took over, so that area which we've used to get into the side part of our property has been used by my clients since the late 70s. So I think it was all previously gravel, then it was paved. We thought the more appropriate thing would be to put a split rail fence there.
So you are not going to use that property anymore as a turning?
We're going to continue to use it.
With a fence there?
No, a fence on, we'll put a fence on, we're going to put a split rail fence next to the property, next to the split rail fence. We don't really want to, that has been in place for over 30 years, and that is one of our access. The neighboring property owner has never used that site. I don't think they've ever been to that side of the property. We would like to keep that intact, and I think if we would put a split rail fence there, I mean, we don't need to do it as, I don't know if you could do it as required as a condition, but we will represent to the commission, we'll put a split rail fence there to make sure that nothing would invade that wetland to the south.
And would that split rail start where we have to show the stockade at the, like between the dumpster and the carport, it ends in the front of the carport, it will continue straight across to the property line kind of? Because like we're to block off where the dumpster is now, is that the intention? Or would that area?
The intention was really to have the split rail fence follow the wetland line. On north, just north of the wetland line, all the way to the.
So the area where the dumpster was will still be used for like mobility, is that correct?
Well, we really don't need to do it, there's really nothing back there.
No, I'm not saying for storage, but mobility, like you said, you need the area to move around the
We really
site.
need this area, let me show right here, we need this area, where do we go, right here, can I do this here? So we come in here, so we literally right now come in here, along the property line, and then come into our garage over here. And this asphalt area here has been there for 25 years.
Yeah. I think that's fine. I'm just saying where you relocated the dumpster, it moved because it was in.
Because it was in the
I'm
upland review area.
Yeah.
Can I interject just a moment? That's not your property though, right?
Correct.
So we can't approve anything that shows that you're using somebody else's property, correct?
Technically, it's not part of this application, so the only, really, I'm trying to be more practical than I am technical, but technically, we don't even have the right to remove the asphalt from their property that's been there for 25 years. So that's why we show the bales on the property line while we're doing our septic work. Once the septic work is in, the bales go away, and we're gonna continue to use the area that's been there for 30 years. We're not expanding, which is not necessarily on our property.
I understand that, but what I'm hearing is you're representing to the commission that you're gonna continue to use property that doesn't belong to the applicant.
Right. Well, I want to tell you, I mean, I can tell you, look, the property's been used by my client for 25 years. We either have the ability to claim it by adverse possession, claim it by prescriptive rights. It would be almost up to the owner to prevent, to stop us from using it since we've used it for so long. Now, we have not brought an action to acquire the property, and any work on that, we're not proposing any work on that property. We're proposing to put hay bales along the property line, which we can control, and then when we finish our work, we'll remove the hay bales, and the work will, and basically everything will stay as it is.
Only problem is that's a potential violation that has been conducted on an adjacent property. We could condone continuing to use an area that is a violation, but it's not even on your
I only
property.
think, here's
Regardless
the
of eminent domain or
practical
whatever
issue.
you're
The
calling it.
practical issue is you really can't order us to remove it from the other person's property either. So what
If
we're
it was
trying
in,
to say
if it
is,
was in place prior to our regulations, which it sounds
Correct.
like it's been for,
25 years is not.
well,
This
I don't
went
know,
back into-
whatever the date
the
is. Whatever the date is when this was.
The use,
put in.
the use of this area dates back into the 70s. So our only position is, we're gonna, all that we can come to you before is with things that we can control on our property line. On our property line, we're gonna put the bales so that when the work is done, there'll be no threat to the wetland area. So once the work is done, the hay bales go away, and the property will be continued to be used from an access perspective as it has been used for the last 30 years.
You're going to put split rail along the border on their
I
property.
don't think you could make it as a condition of approval, but we would be able to do that if.
Obviously, but you're not proposing to put any fence on the other property, only on your own
All on our own, all the way to the property line.
property. Gotcha. Which was gonna go, I would still want to clarify. Where the
Basically,
current
what-
dumpster is now behind where the current
Correct.
dumpster is now?
From the southern
Okay.
property line, we'll put a split rail fence from our southern property line all the way north, behind the storage containers, in front of these wetland plantings to our northern boundary.
Oh, so you're gonna have the stockade and the split rail.
What's that?
You're gonna have the stockade and the split.
Correct.
Okay, now I get it.
So,
Other question I had was about the existing leaching trench and how that's going to be abandoned.
The existing leaching trench is right behind, as you can see, it's under this carport here, and this carport here. It's just a trench, so we're just gonna abandon the tank, and just abandon the fields and leave them in place. That's it. It's not really a hollow structure, so we're not required to remove.
No,
Code-
yeah.
code doesn't-
Figured you'd fill it with something.
Because if it's just a pipe and stone, it's really hard to fill. So that's that, and that's all it is. If it's a hollow structure such as the gallery or plastic chamber, then we have to remove it. But this is just a pipe and stone trench, so we can't really.
Okay, so
not required to
the
fill it.
activities that are you're saying abandoned, but how are you truly abandoning it if you're not doing anything?
We're abandoning by not using it.
But not using it is, explain again, what is the definition of not using the trench that's?
If the septic tank is not connected to it, the old tank is not connected to it.
Oh, I thought this
so-
was a surface
No,
trench.
No, that's
Oh, okay,
that's
that was the
actual
leaching trench for the septic system.
Correct. So this back here, so the septic tank is right here. See,
Oh,
it's
I
the
see it.
existing tank.
Okay,
And this
okay.
hatch line
Got
right
it.
through here is the actual leaching system for the effluent from the septic tank.
Got it,
So once this tank is abandoned,
yeah.
this
That was the
become
input.
abandoned.
Yeah, that was the input. No, I understand. I thought that was a
Is that-
trench drain.
Is that existing septic field in violation?
Violation in
The
what
septic,
terms?
the leaching trench, is that in violation of where it's located?
The existing or proposed?
Yeah, the existing one.
Right now it is, because it's in the.
To the wetland review area, the whole building.
Oh, so it's not supposed to be, it shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Well, back when this was put in,
Okay.
There wasn't
pretty much regulations,
Got it.
they were probably, the health codes were.
Right, it's probably the health code.
Health codes didn't come into effect until 1982. there was a code, but not like they're having today, so that really the system was a violation in many ways.
Now, this property is going to be now serviced by city water,
It
correct?
already has.
Yeah,
It has that?
we
Okay.
abandoned the well.
Right, the well.
How
had
did
been
you do
abandoned.
that?
How do we do that?
Yeah, how did you abandon the well?
They located it and followed the state health code regulations on abandoning the well. I think they poured cement down it and capped it off, and that's it. And then right here is the new water service coming off of Main in Main Street here.
Yeah, the well wasn't even on our property. We're really doing a
That was
lot
part of the question.
to bring
That
this,
was-
yeah. We went over it during the cover at night, and got rid of, no, just, the well has been there. The well, we don't know how the well got there, we inherited the well. We're doing all we can to bring the septic into conformance, bring the water into conformance, and then put all the appropriate wetland boundaries on and fix stuff that's been there for 30 years to give you the security that there's not gonna be any future expansions or encroachments.
All right, so bear with me as I try to really nail this down in my head, because I'm having a little bit of difficulty with it. Right now, there's an existing stockade fence into this, according to this map that I'm looking at. I see
Yes.
a stockade fence.
Right here, up top, right, on the south, on the north end,
On the south end.
Right, you're pointing right at it.
right here.
Yes.
That one. Okay.
Correct.
And that appears to go,
Oh, that one, yeah, that's
it's so faint that it's really hard to fit. Where does
Goes
that?
basically,
secure.
here you go. So from there, you'll see there you go, stockade fence right there, and it goes across.
Is that going to stay?
We don't have any intention of removing it, and we don't want to go on. We don't have any intention to remove it.
I'm having trouble with this because what you're proposing is
We're not-
not on this plan.
We're not really proposing. It's there.
But you're asking our stamp of approval.
No,
No, you're not.
I'm just telling you, it's there, and it's been there forever. What we're trying to do is get your approval so that we replace this septic, and that's how this all came about.
Oh, I understand all the
septic and the water
background. I
system,
get
and
that.
then
I'm just down to the
The things that
logistics
we
here.
can control, and the things that we do have the ability for you to condition us on, we're subjecting ourselves to, which, so that's why we're showing the hay bales along the property line while the septic system goes in. Then we're also gonna take and control wherever we can on our side of the property. We're gonna put first of all, enclose the carports, and then secondly, from the length of our western boundary, between the wetland line, along the wetland line, we're gonna put a split rail fence and add wetland type plants along the northwestern border of our property.
I get all that. I'm only concerned with the southern border at the moment.
I understand,
and
I can't ask you to condition it, and you can't condition it on us that we remedy stuff south of our border.
Well, all right, say we
So that
do,
would be a different violation on the other property owner then, if that stuff is in violation.
And then that ends up being some sort of controversy between us and the southern property owner, which we have not had a problem with for 40 years. It's been, what can I say? We can't,
I understand what you're saying.
yeah, all right.
I get
I
it.
do too. I understand what you're saying. I'm not,
I'm not trying to hide behind it either. I'm just trying to basically bring this property the most conformance that we can on something that was developed prior to a lot of these regulations and review. And I think we're going a real long way of taking care of these issues and giving you security, some sense of security, that you're not going to have any future violations or encroachment on the wetlands. That's probably the best that I can say.
you're about to jump in.
All I was gonna say is, I think I know what you're talking about on the other property, but at least in my own mind, we don't have any or enough information to make a judgment one way or another on if that's really an issue. So I'm kind of looking at the merits of what they're proposing to do on their property and cleaning it up and putting a septic system in that will work.
It's always hard for commissions when it's different if we're tearing the building down and we're starting all over, and we came in with this blank canvas. But we're taking, 50 years of historical development and use, and then trying to apply it to today's standards. And to the extent we're doing that within our boundaries. That's probably the best way to put it.
I think I'd feel a little bit more comfortable if the limits of this proposed and existing use were marked on this map. Because without having some kind of markings as to what your usage is at the moment, regardless of whether or not you did use it or are going to use it, I would like to see.
They are marked there. It says, it shows the extent of the asphalt on the southern boundary.
I mean, to me, the town's got a choice. One, we move ahead and just let it happen. Or two, we issue a violation of either wetlands, which I don't know there is a violation because it's been there so long, or you violate, or the zoning commission violates them for having a paved area with no use.
I hear you.
But
I hear you too, Jim.
I don't
I
know
just
what
want to
the-
know where that use is
You can see
compared
it.
to this map.
See the dotted line? Let me, I'll run you through.
The dots on these maps are so faint, they hardly exist.
Right, so if you look at the little hand there, that's following the asphalt line. And that's the area that is currently paved and has been paved for 30 years, that is not on our property.
And it's about 5 feet from the wetlands, from the wetland line. Does that bother nobody besides me?
Why don't we can do anything?
Well, I understand what you're saying, Lois,
Violate
but,
the other property owner.
yeah,
I mean, that's-
But
if
we don't know that
that,
that's a violation.
if that is a violation.
We don't have the information, so I
All
don't
right,
understand.
I think I understand, but what
Okay,
Mr.
so
Rizzo
I'm
is
barking
saying,
up the wrong tree.
I think so, because we can't tell him he's gotta go take it out, because it's not his.
We'd probably be willing to trespass and without any condition of approval, and put a split rail fence over there that it will not be a condition of approval.
Aren't we
But-
dealing within the constraints of this property line?
Yeah,
That's what we're here
correct.
for. We're
Right.
not here for outside the property line, so we really shouldn't be talking about it, right?
But they have been talking about it all along, so we've been
But they
privy
should
to
see
that
it's an existing
information all
condition
along.
that's
So if
part of
something
their
were to
operations.
happen and an oil truck was to overturn into that wetland, we would be considered privy to the issue, because we knew it and we didn't stop it. That's where I'm coming from. So,
Well,
I
if the
mean,
oil truck fell down on their property line, you're gonna have the same environmental damage. 15 feet ain't gonna make a difference with 1,000 gallons of fuel.
okay, I just wanted to say my piece. It's on the record. That's all I need.
We're just trying to be 100% upfront, and these people have been on top of this since
And I appreciate that. There's just, when you get with these older properties, it gets a little sticky.
It's
So,
very hard. And
I
here-
understand that. So, okay, I'll let it ride.
Are we okay with the types and quantities and size of the plants? It's on the, do you have your plans?
And just one thing, keep in mind, that is so heavily, that is.
Yeah, I know.
That is
Yeah,
one
we
of the
saw
most-
the pictures. I
That
know
is
the-
a very heavily
You
vegetated.
drive by it all the time, I see the property all the time.
Is the area that you're planting an area that you have to cut to plant, or is it
No, I think it's just
maintained?
a general
It's mowed.
No, it's not, it's all just rough growth and just weeds and
Okay.
stuff, that's all.
We're not proposing any clearing. Trying to give some mitigation.
You had things, did you have things, was there things parked there before? So cars and stuff parked there before, is that, do I remember correctly? Where the planting is going, or no? No, that was always just the way,
Correct.
unused.
This one right here, that's your piece, that's your paper line, that's a contract. That's the paper.
Ah, okay. All right. So we think that was appropriate. All right. Okay, do I have anything else from the commission? Any further questions? No? Good? Staff, agents, everybody's all good?
Folks, I really appreciate your patience and understanding in helping us get through this project, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Exhibits, please?
Exhibit 1 is the town agent comments by Denise Halsted, document dated July 19th. And Exhibit 2 are the submission of the photo of the sign posted at the property.
Just wait one second, I do public input.
And a butter receipts. That's it, just the two.
Thank you. All right, this was a public hearing, so before we close the hearing, which I'm assuming is the intention of the applicant, correct?
Yes.
Is there anybody in attendance tonight that would like to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, is anybody here in opposition, who would like to speak in opposition? Anybody like to say anything of a general nature in regards to this application? Seeing none, we will close the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, moving on to enforcement notice of violation discussion, IWV 2019-06, 21 Field Rock Road, clearing and filling within 100 feet of an upland review area. So I believe that we reviewed this back in May. Is that correct? May? And we directed our staff to issue a notice of violation.
I did,
Is that?
on 21 Field Road?
Yep. That's what I've noted. Is that not correct?
Oh, yes, never mind.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Do we have it?
Where's your stuff? Hold on. I don't think anybody's here for it. It's in. It's just opening stuff.
I'm just watching paint dry, sorry.
If you could make it a little hotter in here too, that'd be awesome.
No worries, I'd be happy
We
to.
could start a barrel fire or something up here.
Keep our toes
I'll breathe
toasted.
on you if you want.
Hot breath.
Yeah, 21 Field Road.
You could just take your shirt off.
Oh, yeah.
That would end that.
Right on YouTube. Be awesome. I'd be arrested.
Okay.
Oh, I get to
Probably
drive.
Okay, so,
dedicated.
Denise, maybe if you could run through the
Recap it?
violations? Yeah.
We had received a complaint that the property owner had cut down a bunch of trees, and a cease and desist was notified, was issued by the planning and zoning for this. There was a delivery, a truck delivery of bricks and other debris placed along the driveway at the top of the gully. The gully is part of the wetlands. So part of it was they did clearing in the upland review, they also did clearing in the wetlands. They have filling in the wetlands and in the upland review. There's also conservation area out there, and the material that they dropped off is not great material.
I'll say.
So this is the whole area. This is the conservation easement that's hatched. So upland review area is the red line here. So this whole area, basically, they just went and they cut down a bunch of trees.
Wait,
All of the trees?
Wait, where's the wetland line?
The wetlands is back down here. This is all the upland review area. This is the limit of the upland review area right here.
So the wetlands are by the road?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a gully. If you go out there, the driveway crosses over, there's a gully on either side.
Gotcha.
So they topped a lot of the trees all through here and just threw them down. And I've got some photos, you can see that's, yeah, that's the debris, the truck debris that, that was delivered with the bricks and the metal. And you can see parts of the trees here just laying down in the gully.
There's metal in there too?
There's metal in there as well. That's why zoning did a cease and desist. You can just see all the trees that have just been laid down.
Mhm.
And you have had we've issued the notice of violation already, right?
Yes, they did not come to the last meeting, and I'm not sure that anybody's here today either.
It doesn't appear so. Have you spoken to them at all, or have you had any contact with them?
Well, as a matter of fact, yes, someone visited me and told me that the son-in-law or the stepson, the stepfather owns the property, has the right of use of the house. More than likely, he's going to be in foreclosure. The stepson was told by a town member, that was a past commission member, to not come and be represented here, since he didn't own the property.
Was there any intention? relayed?
They seem to feel that it could go to foreclosure and that it's somebody else's headache. That's kind of the issue.
Oh.
So this is on land records, that
It is
notice of
not-
violation?
It's not on land records yet.
Well,
So that's
what does it
what
take
one
to
of-
put on land records?
If we do a citation, it would be then in the land records.
Because we want this.
Exactly. It
yeah.
should not be someone else's headache necessarily.
Can we make a
It
motion
seems-
to put that as a citation then?
Can we do that?
Could we issue one final letter urging them to come to our next meeting, and if they don't, then move towards a citation? Is that
One was sent,
to come to this meeting?
yes.
Yeah.
And it was returned, the certified mail was returned to me today.
Oh, no one opened it?
And they get it both certified and
Right.
In
regular.
regular mail.
And the regular mail didn't come back,
It did not.
but the certified
Certified
did,
did.
so somebody refused to sign.
Right.
Right.
And the reason they did not come the last meeting was they said that the recent death of the mother made it, unable for them to make an appearance before the meeting, so that they would be here in the July meeting. But on Monday, I was informed that
No
there
one's
was no
coming.
way that person was coming.
All right.
So in other words, there's not going to be any more
Right, right.
work
Nobody's
done.
gonna.
Nobody's
All right.
gonna come. So how do we start the violation process? I mean, the
Well, we-
Citation.
citation process? What do we have to do?
If you want a citation, I will get a citation issued and written up, and then that will go on the land records.
We need
I don't
to-
think we have a choice.
I don't think we do either.
Probably want to make a motion.
But
Okay.
Just one
Clark
little
already made it.
clarification. The citation gets issued, and that gives them, it kind of gives them that extra little
One
bit of
extra.
chance
You're
to
right.
come to that hearing.
I forgot that.
And then if there is no, if they're non-responsive, then it gets put on the land records.
Okay.
Do we have time
So I will-
restrictions on between
I think I
when the
made a motion.
citation is
You did,
issued
yeah, I'm gonna
and
ask
when
you
we
right
have
now if you don't mind.
another?
Yeah,
violation?
once a citation's issued, there's a timeline.
Do we have enough time before the next meeting for that to
The
happen?
next meeting is the beginning of August, so.
End of
End of
August.
August.
End of August.
Citation meeting is,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right, the citation
Citation,
officer.
oh, yeah.
Yes, yes,
That's-
yes, okay.
That's like within 10 days of issuance of the citation, I thought, something like that.
Yeah, so once a citation's issued, it's really a separate issue from you guys.
Okay.
until
All
it's
right, good.
rectified.
the 6th is a
Perfect.
citation hearing meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Clark, you wouldn't mind restating your motion there, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we send a citation to these people living at this address.
Okay, I have a motion to issue a citation on this violation by Commissioner Gingras. Do I hear a second?
Second.
second by Commissioner Stewart. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passed unanimously.
Scott, I got a question. Well, actually, no, Scott, sorry. Got a question, though. Isn't that an illegal process for dumping that? That's gotta be 5 or 6 truckloads. Say that people say, no, I never told anybody to dump it, that should be a criminal act. Because that stuff is,
It could be contaminated.
I mean, there could be a lot of stuff in those loads, and
Well, that's part of the planning, the zoning
That's right.
violation, and I don't think the stepson isn't denying that he.
oh, he didn't deny it?
No, he's
I don't
not
think
denying
he
it.
did,
Okay.
yeah.
Because that's,
And it would
it
ultimately.
doesn't make
be-
sense, there's no sense.
It would ultimately be the responsibility of the property owner to pursue that. That would be a separate civil issue.
Well, I don't see the purpose of doing it.
He's
Well,
getting rid of
he
junk
was-
because of houses, they're losing the house.
He was gonna put his house in the market, is what we were told by the landscapers that did the cutting. That's why they were just felling the trees, and they were gonna try to make a big front yard.
Bigger front yard? That's how you look like you can get to it.
I know, that's a big gully, I know.
You can't make a big yard with a stone.
All right.
Who knows
So-
what else they're gonna try to
Somewhere.
put?
Come on, you guys, you
That's
gotta
a
think
house,
big.
that's house demolition too, that's a house. Blocking, correct? That's a chimney, the old chimney?
Okay. All right, moving on.
This, what's the next one?
No application hearing determinations, no remediation submissions. So we're moving on to deliberations, deliberated from completed hearings. So we have IWC 2019-08, 4 Maple Drive, O'Keefe. Your feelings on this?
Mr. Chairman, I think that you're into deliberations. I was thinking I would leave.
Scott, we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And again, we will,
Thank you, Scott.
we will
We'll be in touch.
be in touch.
And
Thank you
again,
so much.
I'm
Thanks, Scott.
available, so let me know if you need my
Appreciate you.
assistance.
Awesome.
Enjoy your evenings.
Lucky you.
Can we drop,
I'll work on engineering projects.
yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Okay. So for Maple, again, no changes. We're just dealing with time stuff here. I feel like I've given birth to this
Got
because
deja vu.
I see it in my dreams. I guess, I mean, we don't necessarily have, I mean, what other choice do we have here?
We don't really have any other choice. The other thing I was thinking of is what bothers me about this is that the loosey-goosiness of the phase 2 or phase 3 or whatever they're calling it. Suppose 1 month before they're supposed to start phase 3 is when they decide that they're not going to do it, or phase 2. And then we're put off with more time for remediation. I mean, this could go on
Unfortunately,
forever.
I get you, but we've unfortunately approved that already, so I mean, how are we gonna
The
not?
name of the game, yeah.
We've already
And
approved
then there's
all
a
that.
5-year extension period that they're allowed to do for the building portion. So, it's like,
Hey,
can we put another date? I don't know if we can do this.
I don't think that we can.
By which they have to let us know that they are or are not going to go through with the development, and thereby kind of giving an end time to the remediation?
To be honest with you, I'm really just looking for the remediation to be done, which is
I know, I
which
would
is
love
phase
it.
1.
Yeah, well,
So
yeah,
after
but they
that,
don't really, well, never mind.
after that,
so they're looking for what
that
date?
whole area is
October-
gonna be
October
changed
of-
anyway.
They're looking for
October
October
31st.
October 31st of,
this year.
Because they can't do it,
That's
they
only,
can't
that's
do,
only like a couple weeks
Well, they're
away.
gonna do,
they can't really plant anyway until
the
the
driveway will be paved
Yeah.
before that anyway.
right? If they
So, I
plant
mean-
anything now, it's gonna, right? Am I wrong?
If you do anything else, it's just gonna delay it even more.
I'm just
so.
glad my grass is green as far as I know, so I mean,
My grass is dead.
I got weeds.
So we just have to make a motion to
extend?
do the time.
well, no, because now this is a new application, so we are going to ask if this is our consensus, we're gonna ask our staff to draft a letter of approval for this new application, which really only changes is the date for October 31st, 2019. So is that
Okay, yeah.
what we're all
Will
feeling?
that date
Yeah.
still be good, given that we won't give them the approval until the end of August.
I guess we can make the approval now.
Why can't, well, I thought we were.
Our normal process is we ask them. and
Well,
the
it
letter's
is the normal
drafted.
process, but this is a
But this is only a minor.
reinstatement.
Right,
It's only
it's,
a
the only
minor
thing that
thing.
changes is the date, so all the conditions
Okay.
would say the same.
Excellent,
so,
fine with me.
Yeah,
Fine,
Streamline.
Move it
fine, if I
along.
can throw
So
this
you
away, and never
probably
look at it
can make
again.
a
Yeah.
motion and be done with it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I will entertain a motion,
Stop sign.
and,
all right, I
live
move,
there.
go
I see
ahead,
it every day.
Clark's gonna do it. You gonna make the motion?
I thought you
To
could,
approve.
You know, I'm sorry.
motion to approve.
Keith already did. so I
By
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Amato, do I hear a second?
was- Second.
All those in
With the new
favor?
extension date
With
of
the new
October
extension,
31st, 2019.
Yes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passed unanimously. Moving on, 781 Main Street, which is IWC 2019-07R, Town Line Auto Body, Site Development, Remediation, Wetland Violation. This was a public hearing that we just closed tonight. Any discussion about conditions?
They seem to fulfill most of the conditions.
Right.
Yes, there were a few that they just.
I'm so sorry, that last motion, it was made by
Ross?
Ross and second by.
I mean, I'm sorry,
No, no, it's made
Keith.
by Keith, and I
And second by-
seconded it.
Oh, Keith,
Keith and Ken.
and second by Clark? Okay, thank you.
I think, we're talking about the town line now? I
Yes.
think the only thing is they just draw on the split rail fence with the markers, that's the only thing that wasn't on there, right?
The split rail fence was there, just not the markers, right? Is that
I
correct?
Yeah,
I saw
so-
the stop gate, but I didn't see, that's why I was questioning where it was going. because we
Yeah,
didn't see
they
the
kept
split
saying
rail,
it was along the wetlands, but it's not shown along the
And
wetlands.
it's not showing the markers, so all I got to do
Stockade,
is
well, the stockade fence was, oh, you're talking about the split rail
add
fence?
split rail.
Oh, yeah.
Stockade's on there, but didn't show the split rail, that's why I was confused about whether it's
Yeah.
going in front or behind that dumpster. So all they gotta do is draw that on and show that they're gonna put the placards on. I think everything else is good.
That and the, to say that they're removing that dumpster.
Oh, yeah,
They
yeah,
relocated it.
As they offered, yeah. Oh, you're right, that's, yeah, that split rail fence is not on here, I didn't even,
No, that's, they have to depict that. So we don't really know exactly where it's going.
Well, he stated it was along the wetlands.
Well, but there's along the wetlands and then there's,
Well, right along is
15.
the way I understand it, like right along, like on the wetlands line.
right, so all this is as offered, they just didn't mark it on the plan, as far as I could, yeah, you know what, why did I not see that before? Yeah, so the marking on the plan and noting the wetland markers, or the regulated area markers.
they also talked about the split rail fence along the property line of the adjacent neighbor. That's not depicted on here either.
That
It
was,
was on
But
the,
that's confused though, that's where I'm confused because I don't see how they can use it if there's a split rail fence in the way.
There's not a split
No,
rail
no,
fence
I think
there.
they were talking about that fence that's already there, that stockade fence.
There's not a fence there.
But he said split
The one I
rail.
was talking about was like,
the
Yeah, yeah.
split rail was on the end of the pavement,
It comes to the end of the pavement.
right,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
happens to be on the other people's property.
But we're not telling them they have to do that.
No.
It's not their property, it's not their property.
Yeah, no, there's no, they want that driveway to come turn into the back garage door.
Mhm.
So what is the condition regarding the split rail?
Mark it on the,
show where the.
they offered it on the wetland, but it's not marked on the map.
But where are we gonna put it?
They said along
I would say
the
right
wetland
behind the,
line.
I would say right behind the
Along wetland line, they were
plantings.
gonna
but-
put a split
Right
rail
behind
fence, and
They
that's what
verbally
it said.
said what they were gonna do, it's just not drawn on the plan.
Yeah, but
Or do we
I don't
wanna put it
wanna-
along the pavement?
they say along the wetland line, but that could be 10 feet off the wetland
Yeah.
line, that could be on the wetland line, or it could be right behind the plantings, the mitigation plantings.
Why not along the end?
Be along the asphalt, I don't
Well, I
know,
heard him say once that he was gonna put it in front of the plantings, so the plantings are gonna be
behind
a
it.
buffer, and then a split rail fence, then their driveway. So, yeah, you're right, it could be, you know, against the driveway, it could be 3
Looks
feet
like
off the
there's-
driveway, it could be in the middle of the plantings.
and behind
Because
the
it's not
stockade,
depicted
behind the
on the map.
stockade fence, it's gonna have to be about 5 feet behind the stockade fence.
No.
because there's not that much.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not
I mean, I don't think there's any point in putting it behind the
I
stockade
didn't think
fence.
so
And he was
either,
just
but
talking
you
I would
have
say
a
they-
plan.
I would say
I think they should
start-
tie it into the stockade.
Yeah, I
fence.
think
Yeah.
they start at the corner, at the north, west corner of the stockade fence, proceeding along the 417 contour,
Oh, they have it written in there?
Perfect.
Verbally?
okay?
Is that what they wrote on?
To the end of the plantings. How's
Right,
that?
the 417 contour, there's a lot of 417 contours.
No,
Which
from
one?
the one that intersects with the northwest corner of the stockade
So,
fence.
see that
Okay,
one right there?
okay.
So
Mhm.
Just have to draw it on the plan, that's all.
You're gonna need to clarify that statement for the record.
That's what I just did.
Draw the
Again, you want me to
stockade fence-
state it
draw on the
again?
plan- Show on the plan where the stockade
Yeah.
fence is going and where the markers are going.
You mean the split rail fence?
This is split
I'm
rail
sorry.
fence.
Split rail.
I'm sorry, I'm
Oh,
getting
my
confused with
God.
my fences
Split
now.
rail is
why
supposed
everyone's-
to join up with the
The
stockade.
split rail.
Right.
Okay, are we writing, this is getting written up?
This is gonna be for, I'm assuming this is a draft, I'm letting.
Yes, we're
you-
asking you to compose a draft.
Yes.
So you understand what I was saying, sort of?
So it's not working on, you're saying it's from 417 contour to the stockade fence? To the
Yeah.
stockade fence?
Yes.
To the, yeah.
Basically from the
To the
corner of the
stockade
stockade fence where the,
Also all the way to the
But then
north,
the placards
all the
have
way
to
to
be
the
on
north of the
stockade
property
fence
too?
as well then.
Yeah,
Not
well,
just
the
behind the dumpster
417
being removed, it's also to the north of where the containers are.
I'm
Has to be here,
saying from
too.
here,
But
all
what
the
about
way
here?
up.
What about here? There, I mean, this
I
is
think
no
they
longer,
offer this
so.
to split
they
rail
can do
along the
anything.
whole entire.
Okay,
distance.
yeah,
They did.
Those two
so I would
fences.
agree with you.
They did.
To there as
Let's
well.
not muddy the water.
I
Let
like
them
that.
do what
How's
they
that?
said they were
Okay.
gonna do.
Good idea.
Then the placard, then it's not confusing.
Write that note
One
down.
of them is a
That's
screen
what's
and one of
gonna have
them
to
is
go
a
in.
protection of the wetlands. And then they have a maintenance path to go between.
So
the two.
in our administrative comments, our technical comment, it says a continuous landscape hedge, split rail fence, or boulders should be placed behind the plantings near the stockade fence area to further protect them from vehicular traffic and prohibit further encroachment to the wetland areas if plantings fail to thrive.
Right.
So that's what we want to happen.
Are we gonna do, planting, not planting plan, a follow-up plan? Make sure that the plantings do thrive?
Standard 3-year, right?
Okay.
How many years?
3 years.
3 years.
Definitely can't be right now. I'm just not hot enough. Shower when I get home.
Technical, this technical, well, I guess the hearing's closed, so.
Okay.
It's not-
See how it comes out next week.
Yeah, there was in the folder, there was a bond estimate.
Any other conditions that we want to add?
Hold on one
Or
second,
that we
we're
wanna
just
put
looking
in
to
the
see
le-
if there was a bond estimate done on this. Or a recommendation. I don't see, that's something that Scott.
So where are the wetland markers gonna go beyond the stockade fence?
On the split rail fence.
On the split rail? Okay.
Every 75 feet typically.
Yes,
All right.
stockade.
Because it
and
only
split rail.
says that they're attached to the stockade, it doesn't talk about split rail.
It was with this, it wasn't for this file? So we don't have it.
No, okay, so we don't have a bond.
This is remediation, though. Do we usually do a bond?
Well, this is site development and remediation.
Hearing's closed, so if we don't have it,
Okay.
right?
Hearing's
Yeah,
closed.
I'm thinking,
Yeah, but they're doing a P and Z anyway, they're trying to change.
Yeah,
the
maybe we
law.
should include that in the P and Z referral, that there was no wetlands bond,
Just like the rails.
so that they can fold ours into theirs. Can we do that?
We're doing a wetlands, P and Z referral.
Maybe they make
No.
this condition
Aren't
of
we?
the CO.
it's like, well, it's like
There's gonna have to
development.
be, it's
They're
gonna have to
changing the
be.
development from a.
It mentions P and Z in here a couple
Yeah.
times.
Right, but we're not, they're not asking us for a referral, are they?
Well, we give it to them automatically,
Okay, go for it.
so we can add that in there, that if they can fold in.
Well, that's not gonna be in our conditions.
No.
That's just in the letter.
That'll be in the
That, no, that's
referral.
not a condition, that's
Right.
just part of the referral part. Yeah, actually, technical number 6 says verification that applicant will be submitting site development plans to PZC for compliance. So,
We good?
All right.
good.
Everybody else?
Yeah.
All right, so we will
Approve
approve that draft
you
letter.
So would you like Denise to go over her notes just to confirm?
Yes.
Please.
That's what Scott normally did, was to say that these are the conditions.
Okay, the conditions I have written is a split rail fence, which is from the property line, the southern property line to the stockade fence of the dumpster, then from the stockade fence to contour 417,
But you
Going
want it
north.
shown on the plan.
and it's going to be
Shown
shown
on the
on plans. Wetlands markings every 75 feet, and there's going to be a 3-year monitoring of the plants.
And all that is to be shown on the plans, the markers and,
Right, relabel the plan showing that they're removing the dumpster and moving it.
Anything else?
That's it.
That's it.
okay, so that's the draft that I will send to you before the next meeting in August.
Okay, thank you. Time extensions, IWC 2018-07, 205 Monroe Turnpike.
Move to approve the extension.
To fulfill the conditions of approval, second extension request, finalize DOT sidewalk easements. So I have a motion to approve that 90-day extension by Commissioner Spence. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Extension is granted unanimously. IWV 2019-05, 244 Webb Circle. Filling in a conservation regulated area, submission due by 7/21/19. And I believe we have received correspondence.
Yes.
Yes.
There was no time stated on that.
He is currently working on it. He had gotten a proposal. The homeowner spoke with me.
So if you want to clarify the amount of time you want to grant.
Okay. So I'm holding in my hand, which I believe we all have a copy of.
This-
It's a letter addressed to the town of Monroe in the Wetlands office from Dionisio Gonzalez Jr. at 244 Webb Circle regarding this violation. To my concern, I would like to ask for an extension if I may. I've retained David Spath and Bjorklund Associates to help me with this matter. Sincerely,
Abe.
Mr. Gonzalez
He
Jr.
goes by Abe.
What's that?
He goes by Abe.
Abe?
Abe, it's a lot.
Dionisio shortens to Abe?
He goes to Abe. That's his middle name, I guess.
Middle name might
I don't
be.
know.
What will they
Okay.
think of next? So, 60 days?
Sure.
30 days from now doesn't even get us to our next meeting at this point. So 60 days okay with everybody?
Sure.
So I'll entertain a motion to grant a 60-day extension.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Spencer, your second.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Who second?
Keith.
Clark?
Keith.
Keith, okay.
Any abstentions? Extensions granted for 60 days. IWV 2018-15, 4-7198 Main Street, Extension requested to July 31st, 2019 to complete the initial wetland remediation.
Excusing myself.
Okay. It's in the other one, it's not on that one, this is an add-on. So they're asking for an extension until next week?
Apparently.
All's in favor of granting the, I'll entertain a motion to grant a
Next meeting.
7-day extension.
I make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Gingrich. Do I hear a second?
I'll second
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? 7-day extension is granted. Are we sure this is the right date?
Yep,
Oh, it was supposed to be done by July
That's the date
1st,
you
that's
put on the
why.
letter.
yeah.
It was another month.
Did you read the second one? Email.
Look, that's the letter that I have.
Late this afternoon. I sent you another.
You have a whole file.
It says July 31st. It says July 31st.
This is a letter received, stamped received today at 2:38 PM.
Yes, maybe.
Please,
Looks like there's-
for the record.
Bill Carboni's Path Work Associates. There was a confusion on this, or at least I believe. The original approval said they had to have all the work done. Again, this is like the last application, it was in 3 parts. The first part is to do remediation along the thing. The second one was to come in with a development plan. And if that development plan wasn't done by a certain date that I don't have, you would have to come in with a remediation plan for the entire area within the upland review area. Those dates were to be completed for the submission of those plans by July 31st.
July 1st.
First.
Right.
During this process, we prepared a remediation plan because they knew the development plan was not going to happen because of a lot of problems, some of the sewers and so on, totally irrelevant to this. So we prepared a remediation plan. We had a done before we had a pre-construction meeting where we discussed that remediation plan. But as part of the pre-construction report, there's a thing in the bottom saying that we were to apply for an extension because we didn't think it would be the 31st. We weren't going to make the first, we were going to make the 31st. But the approval, and I read it late this afternoon, is for the submission of the plans, not for
No.
doing the
No.
work.
it. No.
It's
Letter E, work shall be completed by July 1, 2019. And it's got stars all around
I
it.
just was marking that out.
Well, okay, that's how I said it. Stars all over the place. It's on page 4
I
of
don't-
5.
This was just that agenda, so I don't have
You want to take a look at the notice certificate of remediation decision? Because that's what we
any. No,
have.
well, I mean,
So what needs to be done here, Mr. Carboni, to get this?
they have, it's my understanding, that I've not been out there, that they have, remediation was to go within, to do a planting plan that was developed by Bill Kenny around the wetlands. Then after that, they were going to do an expanded area out there and take out unsuitable material from the area, and then come back and plant the remediation calls for planting the border with bushes, and that's what's supposed to be done. I believe they can do it. I'm assuming they've been working out there. I'm assuming that they have pulled out the unsuitable material. I don't believe they've done the plantings yet. But again, that's an assumption.
Just so you know, there's a cease and desist order issued on this site. With remediation, they're now doing activities where this phase 2 is, and they're selling topsoil to the
Oh.
public. So they're in a remediation area doing other activities.
Okay, so,
Just so you know, that's something that was issued last night by planning and zoning.
Huh.
So Bill doesn't even know about that yet.
No, it got
No.
mailed today, I guess, by planning and zoning. I'm not planning and zoning, so.
Surprise.
Yeah, Bill's face is like, what?
They issued,
Planning and zoning did because they have equipment out there and they're screening topsoil, and they had a for sale sign up at the street level.
yeah, I was there today.
Topsoil for,
It was there today, I saw it.
but that's outside the regulated area.
no, that's all within the regulated area. And the hole that they dug, they were saying it was for
This-
removing the unsuitable material, and that's part of the backfill, but.
Any work here?
So we.
Just to add a little,
throw
you know,
this- throw-
wrench into
There is no
everything.
extension.
Now, that's separate from what he's asking, mind you, but just so you know the whole picture.
So are we gonna be issuing another violation? Sounds like it.
I'm putting a
That's up
background
to you.
report together.
Yeah.
So we'll see that in the next meeting.
You
then.
see
So-
that at the next meeting, but there is a cease and desist order from P&Z.
And there's activity there.
Yes. As they're doing the planting.
So we might see it the next meeting anyway.
No. We no longer represent him
Oh.
as of the end of last week, beginning of this week.
Okay.
Terminated everything with him. I'm here because that was part of what I had worked on.
No, I think we should go along with the letter. Transfer it, I mean, go to July.
Well, we already made a motion and voted and granted an extension until July 31st, so that stands.
That's what you got.
Perfect, let's move on.
Yeah, because, yeah, 'cause we can still vote. She's about to do her agent activity report, right?
I'll be doing a background report, yeah.
On this-
So then we
on the
can
new
tell you
violation.
On the
to
new-
issue a.
So while you're doing that new background report, you will also investigate the fact that the work that they're supposed to do on this remediation has not been done
That's all
by,
good.
by Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Right.
Excellent, thank you. My note for this is
Yeah, 'cause
yikes.
we can actually issue a violation then, as soon as she clarifies or
Right.
sees it.
Okay. Commissioner Romano, can you hear me?
All set.
Come on back.
Do we add something else in this section
back out again.
of the agenda?
Oh, yeah, 127 Main, you added. For
Yes.
time extension.
Yes,
Which one is that?
the Jake Healers, yeah.
IWB 2017-07R30.
No address on the front of it. This is the 217 Main?
This is
for
127, set to be October 2018. We received a letter addressed to me and the Inland Wetlands Commission. Dear Chairman Grady, can I please have a 30-day extension to finish the work under this permit? Thank you, signed Jay Keeler. There's a note, I'm assuming from our staff on here, saying, see attached, previously granted time extension and original approval.
That was just for reference only.
Understood, I appreciate that, thank
And
you.
if you want clarification on why he's asking that.
Please, yes.
Okay, I met with him last Thursday at the site. He was to have 6 trees as part of the remediation done by the 15th?
June 1st.
June 15th.
June 15th. So they were in, so I went to verify it. The next phase is September 13th to have the rest of the remediation done.
September 1st.
Oh, September 1st, I'm sorry.
Yep,
I'm going on the top of my head.
yeah, I hear you, I appreciate it.
And a lot of that area's been naturalized. There is some Russian olive invasion there. So looking at it, he was asking and said, well, so much of this is naturalized. I hate to have to pull stuff out to put the new plantings in. So I said to him, if you want, you could bring it in front of the commission to ask them what their thoughts are on it. I'm not saying that they're going to say yes. I'm not saying they're going to say no.
So what exactly is he asking for?
So he's asking for an extension because he wants to take photos and basically document the whole area for you to kind of take a look to see
And he's had one extension so far.
whether what's out there now is sufficient for the remainder of the remediation or not.
So you're saying he met the first deadline
First
of June
deadline of the
15th.
trees, yes.
So now it's the remainder of the plants by September 1st, he's asking till September 31st. Or is
And
it
the
whatever?
reason he did it today is because the next meeting being the end of August, time-wise.
Okay. Does anybody have a problem granting a 30-day extension on this? Because he was supposed to plant some stuff by June 15th, and he's saying he did that. He's supposed to plant the rest by September 1st. Do we have a problem granting to the end of September in that regard? Is there an issue with that?
I don't have an issue with
Do you have an
End
issue?
of September,
Is
end
that
of August?
partially because he's coming with a
September.
development plan?
Because it
30
says
days.
tentatively till September 1st.
It's growing
It's
stuff, it's growing all
kind
kinds
of
of stuff there
remediated
that.
itself, so that's why
So
he was.
he's like, if I rip this
So
all
he
out-
wants to come back in our second September, why don't we say a time extend to the second September meeting?
Have him come to
And
the,
have him, if he wants to come in and show us, and then plead his case not to plant the rest of the stuff, yes?
Can I ask, how many plants are we talking about?
He did the major trees, that was it.
yeah, there was 3 trees on either side of the lower area, and then the rest of it was supposed to be a bunch of other plants. I don't
Shrubs.
remember fully what it was.
So let's give him 30 days. If he comes in and shows us that it's established and maybe those plants aren't needed, then maybe we can amend or can we not do that?
No, I just have, he has, I mean,
What type of plants are?
he has to justify that it's like, if it's naturalized, that it's not Japanese knotweed.
Yeah. Well,
It's gonna be.
Exactly, and he did say he knows that there was a little bit of Russian olive, but whether he has to get rid of the invasive and see what's left.
But
I say we give him 30 days and see what happens. I mean, I don't know that it's gonna hurt anything at this point, but
Do we have to
I'll
vote on
entertain a
that?
motion.
Oh, yeah,
We're gonna grant him the 30 days extension or no?
I'll make a motion.
Motion to grant
To
that
grant the
30
30-day
days
extension.
by Commissioner Shamus. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Massaraco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? 30-day extension is granted. So it's 30 days from September 1st as we initially extended. Thank you. Okay, Inland Wetland Agent Activities Report. Now is your time to shine. Not that you haven't been shining all meeting.
I know, I'm so hot.
You and me both,
We're all
sister.
shining, glowing, yes.
Does anyone put these up? No, no, okay. IA 2019-18, 369 Elm Street. He's putting a propane tank in. This property owner has had a previous IA in front of us for a deck that's been closed. Now he's proposing the propane tank in an area. The markers are out and everything from the previous. IA 2019-19, 15 Hawthorne Drive. They're proposing an above-ground swimming pool, which is in the upland review area. IA 2019-20, 49 Cottage Street. It's the removal of an underground oil tank and an installation of a above-ground propane tank. And then IA 2019-21, 15 Wildwood Lane. It's an addition to a home. Permitted as of, uses as of right. Do they still do public works? That's
No,
always
no,
on
no,
it, okay.
no.
IPU 2019-10, 3 Lowest Circle. This is one that I think had been discussed among a couple of the members. It's for a seasonal pool that's in the regulated area. It's just a soft-sided pool that's going to be placed in a upland review area. And then IPU 2019-11 at 518 Monroe Turnpike is some tree trimming, that's over by the Rite Aid. It's just some tree trimming of the medical building, of some trees that are touching the house.
Okay.
Good.
Moving on to enforcement. No deliberations because we didn't complete anything, right? Administrative review of enforcement issues. IWV 2019-07, 104 Century Hill Road. K&T Associates LLC owner, tree clearing, grubbing to water's edge.
This one, we had gotten a call, complaint from someone across the property of the lake saying that there's backhoes and someone's cutting trees down. Went out there, tree cutting had already been done. The landscaper was told to stop. Supposed to call the property owner, which I still have never gotten any call back from the property owner. Reached out to the realtor, no response there either. Basically, I told them, you know, you did clearing, you need to come see us. They had some unapproved clearing in the upland review area. There was some grubbing in the upland review area, and there was one tree that was cut, which was right by the water's edge. This is the areas. The red line here would be the 100-foot from the edge of the water. The tree is right down here. So they did some cutting and grubbing here and some cutting and grubbing here. And pictures don't quite do it a lot, but you could see how much has been, you know, what they've done. They've cleared it. Now the home, I guess, had been sitting idle for a while. They claim it was, the landscaper said, well, we were directed to do it because they were just trying to get the yard back in shape.
Notice of violation. Everybody on board with that?
Yep.
Okay. We'd ask you to issue a notice of violation, as we've
Okay.
done in the past in similar instances in this matter, correct?
Hello, okay. 22 Skyview Road. This was also, came to us as a complaint from a neighbor nearby that said that he claimed that the homeowner was cutting trees down. Zoning enforcement officer and myself went out to take a look at the property. He was not cutting trees down. He had a backhoe. He was doing some work in the, outside the upland review area. When we were there, we did see that he had 2 unpermitted sheds. We weren't sure if they were in the upland review on one of them or not. He apparently, when this homeowner bought the property in 2013, area had already been cleared. So he was just, and he had already been to the town, wanted to know what the offset was. Showed me he had an iron pin or 100-foot offset, so he knew where the edge of his regulated area was. So he was doing work outside of it, but because we had it, and the previous homeowner had done some clearing, so he kind of inherited a little bit of it. So the tree line used to come in 2018, followed this area. Now it follows this area. But when you look at the photos, this is right above the upland review area. Things are still growing, are back growing. He's been very good about, you know, he came in, he made sure that his sheds were permitted. He had to move one because he didn't have it, the zoning setback wasn't quite right, so he fixed that. He's called me, his mailbox has been full, so we haven't been able to talk. He wants to know if there was still an issue with us or not. So he does not know that this is being presented. But,
So the sheds are,
the sheds are outside of the upland
they're
review
not,
area.
sheds are not an issue anymore? It's
No, the
just
sheds are
clearing.
not. The one shed is up here and the other one is right here now.
The clearing area
So they're
is-
very
what-
clearly
What does
above.
it look like, the clearing area?
This, it's behind this, but a lot of it is natural. It's been coming back in. This area is right just above the upland review area. His well is back here, so yes, there's a little bit of clearing, but the well is back there.
Yeah.
The iron pipe that he did for the 100-foot offset is right there.
Okay.
So most of it has come back. Any of this work is all above the upland review area. But because we had a complaint by a neighbor
Yeah.
who came in several times, we needed to.
But the area that is in the review area, you're
It's-
saying it's growing back?
It's growing back. He's not in, he's not doing anything, but
And it was done a long time ago?
it was done, he inherited it, but that's part of the process. Sometimes you inherit it.
Yeah, right.
He's been, you know, trying to make sure that everything was on the up and up. So I still wanted to present it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Quite happy with it, thank you.
It looks okay.
He'll be happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not,
Maybe you could just, when you do talk to him, maybe just remind him again, any work behind that pin.
he said, look, here's my pin, and he says, I took the tape measure out, I'll show you, I'm 100 feet from, so I mean, he knew what he was talking about.
At least mine does.
And he has followed up, several times.
Okay,
We just haven't
excellent.
talked.
So he should continue leaving that area to naturalize. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Status updates.
Okay. Me again.
Take your time. I'm not rushing you.
No problem. 680, okay. This one, okay. 680 Wheeler Road, that he had a violation back in 2007. 2007. Initial violation in 2007. Then he had a permit, he had a permit to build a house. A violation ensued in 2007. 2008, we issued an inland wetlands permit to him for remediation of the area, which included this wall right here and the remediation back behind the wall. Because he had done some filling and some clearing, had firewood and an outdoor furnace. In 2014, he came and got an IAA for this garage. Part of the garage was the bond that we had for the inland wetlands was to be held. The garage was built, this is all before me, garage was built, CO was issued, never signed off by inland wetlands. So I was going through old things, came across this, found out that not only is this now 5 years out on the IAA, but he never asked for another extension on his original inland wetlands, and that expired at the beginning of this year. In time, we had been trying to reach out to him. I have talked to him. Land use attorney came in on Monday, which he now comes in, and I spoke with Vin because we had the bond, and we were told that if we have any bonds, that they're going to start pulling bonds. He told me to issue another letter documenting everything we had. I sent him the letter. I didn't get any feedback yet. Document anything we have. Give him a deadline to finish the wall, because basically the wall is 3/4 done. He said he would get it in the fall. Well, apparently by other staff in the office, we've been hearing that for the past 5 years. Don't know if any of the remediation has been done. So the anticipation was to give him a deadline, which I was looking at, timeline was the end of September. If the work's not done, the following day, the town will pull the bond.
So, I'm sorry.
But we've expired, so that's where I was kind of looking to.
We expired 5 years ago?
We expired this year.
In the beginning of this year.
The beginning of this
He
year
had
was
5 years
when,
from 2014
Yeah,
to
he had
build
a-
that wall.
and he was told he was coming up for expiring and to apply for another extension and never did. If he had applied for the extension, he would have been fined to 2023,
How much is the bond?
$8,000.
And how much wall does he have to finish?
1/4 is what he told me. I have not been on the property yet.
And it's our land use attorney's opinion that we should give him one final deadline?
Yes,
And just to be clear, that's his opinion, right? That's not.
that's his opinion, and like I said, I wrote him a letter like he mentioned.
But how do we give him the permit's expired? We have no
That's-
basis to.
We can't.
That's why.
That's why I was
So it has to be a
asking.
notice of violation.
Well, that's why I was asking, because we have
To
the
me.
bond, don't we pull the bond? And that's where I was saying, I wanted to discuss it with you, and he was saying, well, we could pull the bond, but try to work with him and give him one more thing, but.
He's been
everything's
notified
expired.
numerous times in the last 5
Why don't
years.
you with him schedule let him know you're doing a final inspection prior to pulling the bond on so-and-so date?
I think that's what,
That's-
you already sent him a letter?
I have not sent a letter, because I didn't get the okay from Vinya. I wanted
But
him
that in
to
effect
finish
gives him
cruising the letter.
Gives him
And
an
to talk with
extension, you go and do a final inspection, and if the work's not done, we're pulling the
Well, and we
bond.
kind of know that it's not done, because he verbally told me that the wall is not completed. He would finish it this fall.
Yeah, I don't think that's acceptable.
Nope.
And that's why
I
I brought
understand.
it up. I don't
I
know what
appreciate that.
we need to do.
I appreciate it. I say what's the process to call the bond?
Vin didn't go into it with
Don't
me.
know.
We don't know. That's why I brought it up to Vin, because I was told anything we have, if something's expired, they want to call the bond. The town is now going to call the bond.
And
He
how
wants
far
me to do
expired are
this
we?
first. The first, 29th of January 2019 was when the
When it expired.
remediation expired.
How long an extension is the?
So we're
attorney
over,
wanting-
over
give-
6 months.
We're over 6
Expired.
months, yes.
Ah. Nope. Not in my opinion. I'm just one man on this commission, but in my opinion, no.
Just what?
No to,
Giving any more extension time.
Just pull
I
Pull the
agree.
bond.
I agree.
Pull the bond.
Well, he's not requesting extend.
No, he wasn't requesting an extension. It was Vin that said to me, give him a
Basically,
deadline.
we're trying
No, I
to figure out
understand.
what
Yeah.
procedure you want.
We gave him
us to
5
follow.
years. He's been told 5 years to finish it.
How
Well, he
much-
was given
How much
5 years.
work is there left?
I don't know, because I have
quarter of the
not
wall.
been there.
Quarter of the wall.
Okay, well, I would still suggest that you write him a letter saying you're coming to do a final inspection prior, because if you haven't been there, you can't say that the work's not
He
done.
got a letter, which is how this whole thing came about. I wrote him a letter, we played tag, we finally
Yeah.
got in touch with one another. I said, look, I'm going through old status, this is expired. And that's when he said, okay, well, the plantings, I put some of them in, or, they're doing fine, but my wall's not done.
I understand, but you've still got to see it
Right.
before you pull the bond. So
Right.
I would just say, I'd send him a letter saying, hey, look, I'm going to do a final inspection in 30 days, and
Make it 2
the work's
weeks.
I
not
wouldn't say
done.
30 days.
No, I would say 30
don't
days.
Yeah.
Give him 2 weeks.
Yeah, but we want him to finish.
We
He's
do,
not
but
gonna
We
finish.
want it-
Sounds like
that
he's
was
not
my
gonna
idea.
finish.
He hasn't finished
But that'll
in
give
5
the
years.
attorney
You
the
can
opportunity.
easily finish in 2
He'll have
weeks.
gotten his extension, we won't even have a meeting by then, and then.
That's true too. We won't even have a meeting by then. You're absolutely right. It's a good point.
And then we pull the bond. Because you'll come back and say the work's not done, he'll have gotten his time to do the work, and we move on.
What happens if you pull the bond? Like, what is that?
You pull the bond to finish the work.
What
You
kind
gotta
of
finish
bond?
the work.
Contractor to his property and do
Bond
the
is it?
performance bond,
It's a
right?
performance
It's
bond.
it's from a bank, it's a letter of
Oh, I
credit,
don't
it's
know off
cash,
the top of my head.
it's,
I
it's
haven't
it's from an insurance company.
I was always wondering about it, you can actually allow another contractor to go into someone's property and do work?
I don't know the answer to that. It's a good question. I'll give Vin a call this week. Nah, who am I kidding? Next week.
I mean, if it's a bonding company, now there's a bonding company gonna go after him for the money.
No, I know the
So then
EPA will,
what?
because I've dealt with cases where
Well, you don't have to tell,
They'll
you
pull
don't
the
have to,
bond
you don't have to
and
find out now, I just.
they will hire
depending-
contractors and they go on
Security.
and do whatever they need to do. And the
So the
owner
bonding
just,
company makes it happen.
the owner just sits there and watches, because that's all they could do. It was a.
It was a certified bank check.
That bond was millions.
Certified bank.
This one, I don't know what
check.
this one is.
So we have the
8,000.
check or we deposit it?
We
That
deposit.
one
We would
was-
have deposited.
Oh, so
it.
it's in our account.
$8,000.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
So,
in the
okay,
account.
perfect.
The
Yeah,
town
yeah.
hired, so the town would hire a contractor to go in there.
I don't know what,
I don't know
the-
how
I'm just
they-
saying that goes to the attorney, that's not
Yeah.
us.
Yeah,
We
so
don't-
pulling the
Curious to
bond
know
doesn't
the-
mean anything
The
then,
process.
I don't know.
because we already have the money. It's not like he's losing money.
Well, he doesn't get it back.
Well, he doesn't get it back.
Right.
By us calling the bond, he
That's
has
what I
no
mean,
right
but
to get it
it's-
back.
But it doesn't hurt anymore because it's already hurt to put it in.
Well, except
you know.
that it might hurt, because it might not cost $8,000 to finish that little quarter of a wall. You
Right.
might
That's
want to
true.
just do that and get your $8,000 back.
Just saying.
I like Jim's approach, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
And then, but I would say, do it
Before
like
next
Yeah.
meeting,
3
You're smart,
weeks,
man.
3 weeks
Tired.
from this meeting, and 1 week before the next
Sweaty.
meeting, so that he has 3 weeks to complete it before you show up. And you've got 1 week to prepare whatever you need to prepare before our meeting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. I got one more for you.
So if you go up on like the 19th.
Modification of amendment.
Where's 74? Here we are.
This is the one.
Okay. This one was where am I? They're requesting modification of the amendment approval. We had said that they had to have at least the binder course done by August 31st. The area that's in magenta, they are trying to push it off into November. Hold on. Yes, they propose that the item number 2 to be held off until November 30th, 2019.
They give you a reason?
These items are currently being addressed. Most of the hay bales are redirecting of surface flow has been addressed. We propose item number 2 be held off until November 30th and be confined to the rear of the existing building. The reason is that there is work to be done in that area, and if we place a binder course by the end of August, it will conflict with the work to be done in the rear of the property as construction proceeds.
Problem I have with it is, by the time you get to the end of November, you could be into shutdown of
Yeah, you missed that date.
asphalt,
and then-
and
Asphalt.
Yes,
then you're into
that's
spring.
planned. We used to
Yeah.
do November 15th, but now they seem to stay open through December, but
December,
you never know.
yeah,
Yeah.
just middle December, but still, if you
Still
miss
a
that
year.
date, they're gonna be coming back and saying, we'll just do it next year.
Yep,
So, October,
31st.
yes.
That's good. He likes that.
Yeah,
Jason?
is it okay if he speaks?
Yes. So,
Bill Carbone, back, York and Associates, you're fine with that date?
Yes, October 31st.
October 31st would be fine.
thank you.
Can I just say one thing? Michael Infante, representing the owner. On the original, the meeting that this was going over, the Wetlands agent, Scott Schatzheim, had, as he was speaking about this, showed the area that he wanted at least a binding course. And I believe that Mr. Romano had said that that would be a good idea to put at least a binding course down, which I have no objection with. The only thing is the way the letter came, which we hadn't had a chance to go over, it shows the whole area being binding course. Front of the building, front of the new building, everything. And that I have a problem with.
I don't think that was the intent as I remember that meeting.
No, I looked at the minutes of the meeting, and Scott had done just the rear of the existing building and also directing the water to the existing catch basins and grading it.
Well, I think the intention was, one, to cap some maybe potentially leaked oil on the process, so that the
Yep.
water doesn't get to that and
Yep.
push it down further.
Yep.
And to be able to anchor a curb
Right,
around so that the water can't will direct to the catch basin.
right. Yes,
So
that's
if there was a
exactly-
plan showing those goals being reached, I think that's what we're looking for.
Well, that's what this plan is. We're talking about from this area, there is somewhat of a drainage through here. To pave 8 feet all the way around, 8 feet is the width of the paving machine. And then to this point, and then from the extension of the building, all of this area. Now, this is already paved. So all of this area, this strip in here, and provide curves all the way along there, so it's confined and will be sent into the, well, separate.
That's what we were looking
That's,
for.
yeah, I'm good with that.
But that's not what was in
Oh, so
Wait a
wait
minute,
a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a
Said
minute, wait a minute.
something else.
Right, I said the whole area around,
To address that, we'd have to put it back on the agenda with that letter.
Right.
We can't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So
we
for
need
We
right
can
now-
only, right tonight, we can only address
This.
the time extension. So if there's a discrepancy in the plans that we approved and the letter that went out, we will certainly address that, but we can't, we don't have, we don't all have the information in front of us right now.
So we can give you the extension, and then you'll still have plenty of time, because you're not gonna be doing it for a while, to come back in, even at the next meeting, and bring this,
Get that plan.
and bring
If you
this.
disagree, if the letter is written differently than the plan that we approved,
Come in
just
as
come back in,
I
see
don't
the
think
staff
they need to
before our
do that.
next
I
meeting.
think if-
That can be a staff
Or staff,
approval,
or
or
maybe-
was on the plan, what was gonna have a binder course.
It was a condition of approval.
It was a condition of approval, that's all it was.
So what you're contending is that what we talked about as a condition of approval and what was written in the letter is two different things.
Correct.
Okay, so what I'm gonna ask you to do
Yeah.
before our next meeting is contact our inland wetlands agent with a copy of your letter, address your concern. She'll put it back, we can't address that now, because we haven't done any of the research on it. You understand what I'm saying? But you still have time, because you're not doing the binding course now until October 31st. So our next meeting is at the end of August. So if you disagree with the way the condition is written in the letter, contact the office, voice your concern, and then she can put it on the agenda at our next meeting. We could have all the information in front of us and decide that way.
And I would say, if it even needs to be on the agenda, because
Right, she
maybe
can
they
make a more
could get it
informed decision.
clarified, and
Who has
then,
an agent approval?
Yeah.
She can take a look at the letter and read and see what we said in the
She
video
clearly agrees
and
with
decide
you,
whether or
then-
not it has to come
The
to us
video
or
shows
she
it.
can.
I looked at the video for 2 hours today. It exactly shows where Scott had outlined everything.
Okay, then if it's that easily rectified, it is, but unfortunately, we can't do that tonight
No, I
because we don't have the
understand that.
information. But I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Like I said, please be in contact with the office and we can certainly address that if not, at our next meeting. Okay?
All right.
So your extension is granted till October 31st.
Okay, I do have one other question. How would that affect my P and Z?
I have no idea.
Okay.
We can't do P and Z.
Okay.
I wish I could help you, sir, I do, I have no idea.
Did we vote on the extension?
Can I hear a motion to grant the extension till October 31st?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Extension is granted to October 31st. Further issues will be addressed as appropriate.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so
All right,
much.
thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming back.
Sorry if there was confusion there.
We'll get it straightened out. All right. So that's it, right? We're moving on to general discussion. Is that correct, or do we have another one?
I think that's it.
Okay. Anything from the Regulation Amendment Committee, the Public Outreach Committee? Not right now. Okay.
Wait, can you skip over minutes?
Yeah, well, I'm doing that now.
Oh.
Donna, did we clear up all the
Yeah.
backed up minutes at our last
Yeah,
meeting?
we
We didn't
did.
have to skip one?
No?
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
So, I will entertain a motion in regards to the minutes of the
I
June
make a motion
26th
to
meeting.
accept the minutes as they were.
Okay,
It was a quick meeting.
This was the fastest meeting we ever had.
any discussion?
Lois?
It was like a 14-minute meeting.
No, it's
The only
the
one who
fastest
reads it,
meeting
me?
we had, the fastest meeting we ever had.
Okay, so
Move
do
to approve as presented.
so I have a motion by Clark,
A
and
second.
I'll second.
a second by Commissioner Spence.
I'll
All those
second
in
it.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Minutes are approved without changes. Woo-hoo. Correspondence?
There was correspondence that they were giving notification to treat the following permit, which was pondandlake.com, and it was to treat Jockey Hollow Schwartz Pond, but it happened on July 5th, so the whole thing is moot.
Okay, excellent. Before our favorite motion, we'd like to formally, again, welcome Denise and wish her very good luck.
Yes.
That's like
You got
She-
things to say.
she
You
comes
got
back
things
to the
say,
next meeting.
Phil.
Who's making the motion? Come on,
Make a
Jim.
motion that we adjourn?
Clark?
Motion to adjourn by Clark,
Second.
I'll second.
second by
No.
Commissioner Spence. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
9:06.
opposed? Any abstention? Meeting is adjourned.